It started on a quiet morning at a charity event organized for war veterans in Los Angeles, where I was helping coordinate the crowd. Most of the guests were cheerful, sharing laughs and memories, but one man stood apart, a tall, silent army sergeant in uniform, his eyes shadowed with something deep. I noticed him glancing toward the stage where Keanu Reeves was speaking softly with a group of children. Suddenly, the music changed, upbeat and surprising for the occasion. And without warning, Keanu stepped off the stage and invited the sergeant to dance. Everyone froze. Cameras turned. The sergeant hesitated, clearly caught off guard, but Keanu gently pulled him into a slow dance under the soft afternoon light. No one could believe it. People cheered, laughed, cried, but I could see something shift in the soldier's face, like a wall breaking down. What no one knew then was why that dance meant so much, or what story the sergeant had been carrying all along, and what he would reveal later would leave the world stunned. After the dance ended, the crowd erupted into applause, but the sergeant just stood there still holding Keanu's hand for a second longer than expected. His face twitched like he was fighting something inside. Keanu noticed it too. He leaned in and whispered something, no one could hear what, but the sergeant gave a tiny nod. Then, without a word, he walked off the stage and disappeared behind the tents. I followed, not because I was curious, but because something about that man's silence felt heavy, like a dam about to burst. I found him standing alone near the fence, breathing hard, staring at the sky. "Are you okay?" I asked, gently. He didn't answer right away. Then he looked at me and said, "Do you know what it's like to come back from war and feel like you're still there?" His voice cracked. I was stunned into silence. "Keanu didn't just dance with me," he said slowly. "He reminded me I'm still human." I could feel a lump in my throat. "There's something I've never told anyone," he continued. "Not even my family. But today, maybe it's time." I leaned closer, sensing something important. He looked around to make sure no one was near, then whispered, "There's a reason why I stopped dancing after my last deployment. Something happened, something no one would believe. And Keanu, he was a part of it, even if he doesn't know." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" I asked. But he just smiled sadly and said, "You'll understand. Just stay close." He turned and walked toward the back of the event grounds, and I followed, completely unaware of the unbelievable truth he was about to reveal. As we walked behind the rows of tents, the noise of the event faded until all I could hear was the crunch of gravel under our boots and the distant hum of the city. The sergeant stopped near a rusted metal bench under a willow tree and motioned me to sit. "My name is Sergeant David Halbrook," he began. "I served 3 tours overseas. But the story I'm about to tell you isn't just about war, it's about something that saved my soul." He pulled out an old photo from his wallet. It was worn, edges curled like it had been folded and unfolded 100 times. In the picture was a group of soldiers smiling, arms around each other. And right in the middle, almost unrecognizable in military gear, was a man with a familiar face. "Is that?" I asked, squinting at the photo. "Yes." David nodded. "That's Keanu Reeves. He visited our forward operating base in 2007. It was supposed to be a morale boost, but something happened that day that changed everything." He paused, eyes fixed on the photo. "We were attacked. Out of nowhere. It was chaos, smoke, screams. My best friend was hit. I froze. I couldn't move. But Keanu, he ran toward the fire, dragged 2 of our guys out. No one ever reported it properly because media wasn't allowed there. But I saw it with my own eyes." I stared at him, stunned. "But why didn't anyone ever talk about it?" I asked. "Because he made us promise. He didn't want fame or headlines. Said real heroes don't talk, they heal." David's voice shook. "But here's the twist. After that day, Keanu vanished from our base. We were told he never came, that it was all a hallucination caused by trauma. Even my friend who survived later claimed he remembered nothing. For years I thought I was going crazy. I felt chills run down my spine. You think he was erased from the records? I whispered. Worse, David said. I think he erased himself, for a reason, and I need to find out why. He stood up suddenly. And I'm not the only one. There's someone else here today who knows what really happened. But he won't talk unless Keanu is present too. We need to bring them face to face. The wind picked up as if the world itself was holding its breath. I followed him, my mind racing. What secret was Keanu hiding that powerful people wanted buried? And who else knew the truth? We made our way through the bustling event, but everything around me felt distant now. My mind was stuck on David's story. The idea that Keanu Reeves had saved lives in a war zone, only to erase every trace of his presence, was impossible to ignore. I followed David to a quiet trailer parked behind the main tents. He knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked. Twice more, a strange rhythm like a code. The door opened slowly and a man with sharp eyes and a rigid posture stared back. His left arm was missing, replaced with a high-tech prosthetic. This is Captain Rami Ortega, David introduced him. He was there too, but he hasn't spoken about that day in 15 years. Rami stepped back to let us in, locking the door behind us. The trailer was dimly lit, with war medals, maps, and a large corkboard covered in old photographs and strings connecting faces and dates. Rami sat across from us. You want the truth? He said coldly. Fine, but once I tell you, there's no turning back. You'll be watched. I nodded without hesitation. He pulled a folder from a hidden drawer. Inside were declassified photos showing Keanu in uniform, standing next to soldiers, and one particularly haunting image of him, cradling a wounded child in a war-torn village. We weren't supposed to be there, Rami whispered. It was a black op, unofficial, off-record. Keanu came not as a celebrity, but as a man who had been there before. He served quietly before he was famous. But someone recognized him. And when the news got wind of it, they tried to silence us all. My mouth went dry. So this wasn't just about him visiting? It was about protecting something bigger? Rami nodded. He witnessed something. Something the world was never supposed to see. After that, his identity as a soldier was erased, but some of us remember. And now someone's trying to make sure even we forget. David leaned forward. Which is why we need to bring him here. In person. Because only he can unlock the next part. There's a problem, Rami said. They're watching him. If he agrees to meet, they'll intervene. I looked at them both. Then we'll need to find a way to get to him without anyone knowing. And when we do, I want to be there. Rami stood up, opening a locked case. Inside was a military satellite phone and a location tracker. We have one chance to contact him, but if he answers, everything changes. The air was thick with tension. A choice was about to be made. That night, I couldn't sleep. Rami had sent a coded message through the military satellite phone, a location ping disguised as a distress signal. If Keanu recognized the code, he'd know who it came from. If anyone else intercepted it, we were risking exposure. The room we stayed in was dark, except for the faint blinking light on the tracker, which suddenly turned green. Keanu had responded. He's coming, Rami said softly, eyes locked on the blinking dot that now moved slowly toward a location, deep in the Colorado Rockies. But we can't meet him here. Too risky. We have to go off-grid. Within hours, David, Rami, and I loaded into an old army vehicle and left the city behind. As we drove up the winding mountain roads, I realized how serious this had become. This wasn't just a story anymore. It was something much deeper. My heartbeat raced with every mile, unsure of what we were truly stepping into. We finally reached a hidden ranger cabin surrounded by dense forest. The silence was eerie, broken only by the crunch of gravel under our boots. Inside the cabin, Rami set up the signal tracker while David kept watch through binoculars. Just as dusk settled, headlights appeared in the distance. The engine stopped. A tall figure stepped out of the car alone. As he came closer, the light from the porch hit his face. It was Keanu Reeves. but he wasn't smiling. His face looked older, worn, not by age but by knowledge. "You shouldn't have called me," he said quietly, looking at Rami, then David, then directly at me. "You don't understand what you've just pulled into." I stepped forward. "Then help us understand. Tell us what really happened over there." Keanu looked down for a long moment, then walked into the cabin and shut the door. Inside, he removed a small flash drive from a hidden pouch in his jacket. "They told me to forget," he whispered. "But I recorded everything. Names, coordinates, what we saw, what we were ordered to leave behind." Rami looked shocked. "You still have the files?" Keanu nodded. "But if we open them, we won't just be exposing the mission. We'll be revealing something that could shatter what people think they know about this country." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't about a war story anymore. It was about a buried truth that powerful people didn't want to see the light of day. Keanu placed the drive on the table, looked at me, and asked, "Are you really ready for what comes next?" The room went silent as Keanu's question echoed in the air. I could feel the weight of it sink into my chest. "Yes," I finally said. "If it's the truth, then people deserve to know." Keanu looked at me for a long moment like he was trying to judge whether I truly meant it. Then he plugged the flash drive into Rami's encrypted laptop. What came up on the screen wasn't just files, it was video. Grainy night vision footage from helmet cams, soldiers moving through a desert compound, voices in hushed tones, guns drawn. Then a sharp yell followed by gunfire. But that wasn't the shocking part. It was what they found in the underground chambers beneath the facility. Rooms filled with people, civilians, sick, disoriented, some barely conscious. Experiments, human testing, and military personnel guarding them. I felt my stomach turn. "This was supposed to be a recovery mission," Keanu said, his voice shaking for the first time. "But it was a cover. We were told we were rescuing hostages from a terrorist cell. What we didn't know was that the cell was a rogue facility being used by our own people." Rami scrolled further into the files, emails, voice memos, classified memos from high-ranking officers. It was all there. David, who had barely spoken, stood up suddenly. "We can't leak this, not yet, not like this. If they find out we even watched this stuff, we're dead." Keanu nodded. "That's why I stayed hidden. I've spent years feeding this information to the right people, quietly, carefully. But now the heat's coming. That reporter who embarrassed my mom, he was planted. It wasn't just about me. They're watching everyone connected to me now." I looked at Keanu in disbelief. "You mean your mom was a distraction?" He nodded. "They humiliate me in public, so I stay. Out of politics, but my mother, she was their warning. My mind was spinning. Everything was connected. His silence, the dance with the sergeant, the sudden attention, and now this." "So what do we do?" I asked. Keanu looked out the window into the trees. "We go to the one place they can't track us. And we find the last man who knows the whole story, the one who disappeared after that mission, the one they all think is dead." I looked at Rami, whose face had gone pale. "You mean the general?" Keanu turned to me with a grim smile. "No, I mean the boy we rescued, the only survivor from that lab. He's not a boy anymore, and he's been hiding for over a decade." The moment Keanu mentioned the boy, my heart skipped. I'd heard rumors, quiet whispers during my own military training, about a child pulled from a black site, a boy who wasn't supposed to exist. "He survived?" I asked, stunned. Keanu nodded slowly. "Barely. They did things to him. He saw things that changed him forever. But he has something no one else does, a memory of the faces inside that facility, and proof no document can fake." Rami began typing rapidly, searching through encrypted databases. "If he's still alive, he's not using any normal identity. He's a ghost." Keanu leaned in and said, "His real name isn't important. What matters is the alias he uses now. Ash." As soon as Rami entered the name, a location flashed. A remote town in Montana, population less than 300. We booked a flight using burner credentials, and by nightfall we were on the road, driving, through cold, silent mountains. When we reached the town, it felt frozen in time. Wooden houses, flickering streetlights, no sign of technology. It was like Ash had chosen to live in the past, away from everything. We stopped at a cabin where a man, barely 30 but with eyes older than war, answered the door. The moment he saw Keanu, he stepped back, visibly shaken. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They'll come." "They already are," Keanu replied. "We need your help, Ash." The man's eyes shifted to me, then to Rami, and back to Keanu. "You brought them into this?" Keanu's voice was calm but heavy. "I had no choice. They saw the files. They know the truth now." Ash turned and walked inside without another word. We followed. His home was covered in hand-drawn maps, red string connecting photos, old computers humming in corners. But what caught my attention was a glass case on the wall. Inside, a drawing of a soldier and a child holding hands, surrounded by fire. "You remember everything," I said. Ash nodded. "Every second, every scream." He pulled out a sealed metal box from beneath the floorboards and placed it on the table. "This is what they're willing to kill for." Inside was a small chip. Keanu looked at it like it was a live grenade. "Is this what I think it is?" Ash replied, "This is the key. To everything. To them. To why they picked you, Keanu. And why they're coming again." A sound outside made us all freeze. A soft, deliberate crunching of snow. Then another. And then the power cut out. Darkness swallowed the cabin as the last flicker of the lights vanished. We didn't move. Even the wind outside had gone silent, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Rami immediately reached for his emergency flashlight, but Keanu grabbed his hand mid-motion. "No light. They're watching." Ash moved with eerie calm, guiding us toward a trapdoor hidden beneath. "An old rug. This isn't the first time they've come for me," he muttered. "Last time I wasn't ready. This time I am." We descended into the underground tunnel just as the front door creaked open above us. Heavy boots stepped inside. At least 3 men, maybe more. Their silence was louder than words. As we moved through the narrow passage, Ash whispered, "Those aren't just agents, they're engineered." My stomach dropped. "Engineered?" He nodded. "Not fully human. They're trained to hunt people like us. Silent, fast, loyal to a system that doesn't officially exist." We emerged into an abandoned barn half a mile from the cabin. Ash immediately pulled a lever that collapsed the tunnel behind us. "They'll think we burned with the house." But Keanu wasn't looking back. He was staring at the chip in Ash's hand. "That chip," he said, "has files proving Project Nighthawk was real. Photos, names, even bank trails, but more than that, it has footage. Of the room they used. The child was me." My breath caught. "What?" Ash stepped forward. "You weren't just the reason the project was shut down, Keanu. You were the result of it. You survived the experiments. They wiped your memory. Planted a new life. Hollywood, fame. It was a cover. You were meant to be a puppet. But you woke up before they could trigger why." "Oh." Keanu stared at him, his face unreadable. "And my mother?" he asked. "She knew. She was one of the scientists. She saved you, faked your birth records, ran away with you. That's why they've always watched you, and why they're scared now." At that moment, Rami's tablet beeped softly. A satellite scan showed a convoy approaching, military grade, unmarked, 15 minutes away. Keanu turned to me. "You ready to find out what you're really part of?" I nodded slowly, though nothing inside me felt steady. "Then let's give them a reason to be afraid." He opened the case beneath the barn floor, revealing weapons, surveillance jammers, and a map marked with a red X. Ash looked at us both and said, "The next move isn't defense, it's attack." We didn't have much time. The convoy was closing in fast, and Keanu wasted no breath as he loaded the gear. Ash handed me a headset. "Once we move in, there's no turning back. They'll come at us from all sides, and if you hesitate, we all die." His voice wasn't dramatic. It was cold, practiced. I could see it in his eyes. This wasn't his first war. Keanu marked the red X on the map with a grim nod. "That facility, it's where everything began. The chip doesn't just contain files. It's the kill switch to their entire operation. Plug it into their mainframe and we expose them to the world." As we mounted onto the military dirt bikes hidden in the barn, Rami updated us. "They've split. 10 vehicles, 8 headed to the cabin, 2 coming straight here. They know something." We hit the forest path, weaving through trees like shadows. As we rode, Keanu turned slightly toward me and said, "You ever wonder why you were there that day, dancing alone in that parking lot?" My heart skipped. "What are you talking about?" He glanced ahead, voice low. "That wasn't chance. You weren't just some stranger. Your father was one of the whistleblowers of Nighthawk. He died trying to get this chip out. You were meant to receive it." My hands tightened around the handlebars. "My father? I never even knew he was involved." Keanu continued. "They erased your memories just like mine, but not everything. That moment we danced, I remembered something. Your face, from the lab." A lump formed in my throat. "You were there?" "We were both children, subjects." The dirt path ended at a hidden road leading underground. The entrance looked abandoned, just a collapsed tunnel to the untrained eye. But Ash opened it with a small device and said, "Let's bring the nightmare home." Inside, the facility reeked of metal and burnt plastic. Lights flickered. Monitors crackled to life as we entered. "Welcome back," a cold voice echoed through the hall. A man stepped into view, clean suit, scar across his face. "You 3 think you're heroes, but you were never more than assets." Keanu stepped forward, raising his weapon. "Then why are you afraid?" The man laughed. "Because the real monster isn't me, Keanu, it's you. You were our perfect prototype, and now you're waking up." Suddenly, Keanu dropped his weapon, staggered, and clutched his head. Alarms blared. "They activated the trigger," Ash shouted. "They're trying to take control of his mind." I rushed to Keanu, grabbing his shoulders. "Fight it, you're not theirs." His eyes met mine, wild, shaking, then slowly clearing. "They can't own what's already free." He ripped the headset off and crushed it, then looked at me. "Let's end this." We stormed the main control room like a wave crashing against steel. Ash provided cover as I sprinted with Keanu toward the terminal. Every corridor pulsed with red alarms and gunfire, but something had shifted in Keanu. He moved faster, sharper, like he had remembered who he truly was. As we reached the terminal, I inserted the chip, fingers shaking, while Keanu held off 2 guards closing in. The screen lit up, demanding a retinal scan. Keanu didn't flinch. He leaned in, eyes scanning. The system paused, then unlocked with a soft beep. "Access granted, Dr. K. Reeves." My eyes widened. "You were the architect?" He didn't answer, just stared at the screen where rows of files unraveled. Experiments, cover-ups, names. The truth was uglier than we imagined. Ash yelled from the hallway, "You've got 30 seconds." Keanu looked at me. "Send it to the public server. The whole world needs to see this." I hit upload. A green bar started moving across the screen. Just as it reached 98%, the scar-faced man reappeared on the upper deck, gun aimed at Keanu. "You think this redeems you?" he sneered. "You were made to destroy, not save." I raised my weapon, but he was faster. The shot rang out. Keanu stumbled back. "No!" I screamed, catching him. Blood stained his shirt, but he smiled through the pain. "Let it finish." The upload hit 100%. Across the world, screens flickered with truth. Whistleblowers' names were cleared, victims' voices restored, and the monsters behind it were exposed. The facility started collapsing. Ash grabbed my arm. "We have to go, now." I looked at Keanu, still breathing, but weak. Together we dragged him out just as the tunnels imploded behind us. Days later, the headlines blazed with stories of what we uncovered. People took to the streets. The world had changed. Keanu recovered in silence, rarely speaking. But one evening, as we sat watching the sunset, he turned to me and said, "I danced with you that day not because I remembered, but because something inside me hoped." I smiled. "And now?" He looked toward the horizon. "Now, I remember everything. The world may have broken us, but together we rewrote its story with truth, with pain, and with hope." Please subscribe channel for Keanu Reeves respect. Thanks.